My guest today is Diane Halfman, and Diane is a celebrity speaker, philanthropist, and the international premier expert in the science and psychology of spa life. Spa life is a lifestyle that accepts the notion that accomplishment and harmony can coexist. She believes everyone deserves to experience surroundings that feel like a sanctuary of beauty. As a spa life curator, she shows high-achieving women entrepreneurs how to create a life where ambition, accomplishment, and harmony coexist. Welcome to the show, Diane, because I know a lot of our listeners are going to want to know exactly how you do that. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Gail. I want to thank you for having me on my show. I'm honored to have the time with you and your audience.
Well, I was also curious in the information that you sent me that you also worked as a police officer. So how did that translate into something that's called spa life?
Yes, I get asked that, quite often. So, interesting enough, I was a police officer with the San Diego Police Department for 10 years. And during that time, I worked first as uniformed patrol officer, as well as served undercover in assignments in gangs, narcotics, and vice. So I saw people at their best and at their worst. And it was during my time as a cop that I literally saw thousands of homes. And I noticed something early on that it was confirmed repeatedly in my career, that homes that had the most clutter had the most drama. So I was able to really look at what is in a person's space. And so I took my experiences of the police department of what was in people's space to see how it was actually impacting their experience of their life.
It's interesting because as we're doing this show, I am in San Diego right now. So it's very apropos that you should talk about that. But tell us a little bit about who you work with and how you help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So, I work with high-achieving entrepreneurs, and I guide them in getting rid of things that are not working in their life. Sometimes that is in their physical space in terms of, clutter and chaos. And sometimes it's just getting rid of the busyness in our life. When you talk about, living a regret-free life, sometimes it's just about how we are choosing to live our life. And so I have people kind of step outside of what they've been doing as the status quo. And I specialize in working with people who have attained success in their work. However, the rest of their life is not always in alignment. So I bring their environments into alignment so that they can achieve not only financial success, but to live the life that they want to have with more balance.
Well, I'm laughing when you're talking about clutter and that can cause, dysfunctional behavior because, my husband was not a neat freak, but he liked things in its place. And my son is the same way. My son is exactly the same way. And yet I say there's nothing that grows so fast in my life without food and water as paper. I mean, I can have something clear 1 minute and turn around and it's just got a very nice pile next to it right afterwards. So I can appreciate what you're saying about clutter and all of that. But give us some examples of the impact that you've had with your clients. I mean, to make a statement that clutter and chaos go together, I can understand that, but how does that impact them? I mean, show me or tell us some of the examples of how you have solved that.
Absolutely. So first, I coined the term, clutter to drama ratio, that there is a direct relationship to it. I saw it day in and day out with the police department, but I also saw it, in lives of my clients, that the people that in the homes that had the most clutter had the most drama. And so I call it the clutter to drama ratio. And it's directly proportional, that the more clutter you have in your space, the more drama that you have. So it also works both ways, where you decrease clutter in your space and the chaos and the busyness, because for some people it can show up in the physical space as, piles of paper. Although for other people, it's like in fact, they'll say, I used to be organized, but now I can't find something, or they're finding that they can't have clarity of thought. So it's really about bringing clarity into someone's space. And, sometimes I hear people say that it's like, well, the clutter doesn't really bother me, or it doesn't really affect my life. However, subconsciously, it distracts us. We have people who are, not able to focus and get things done to completion, which means that they have a lot of open loops. So I actually worked with a celebrity health coach that wasn't actually feeling very healthy, and we scaled down and cleared out over 40 years of clutter and put solid structures in place to make her physical space support her business and her life. And so after working with me, her productivity increased significantly with having systems, and she finally regained peace of mind and the reduction of clutter. She realized that because her life was, the clutter was a reflection of how she was running her day, she wasn't able to do the things. I mean, this is where the, having some regrets that can come in is not being able to. She's noticing that her daughter is growing up quickly, and because she had overpacked her life, she had delved into the busyness, she wasn't able to spend the time with her daughter and husband that she wanted to have. So once we actually cleared her space and her mind and her calendar so that she could really start focusing on the things that meant the most to her and have more balance, she was able to enjoy her life on a much deeper level.
Wow. That's, that's really quite an accomplishment. So you talk about living by design and not living by default. So is that what you're talking about when you help people with that?
Absolutely. There's too often that people just let the day unfold in whichever way that it happens. However, if you want to live a regret-free life, you have to consciously choose how you're doing that and how you're stepping into it. So, by living a life by design, you are actually creating, what is the experience I want to have today? What is it that would make me feel the most happy? What would have me be the most healthy? What's going to help my business? I mean, these are conscious choices that we make in our day of the experience we want to have in our life. If we just wake up and just go, well, we'll see whatever happens. I mean, there's something to be said for just letting things creatively unfold. However, if you put a structure in place that you're setting the intention for that, you are going to hit the marks on what you want to do professionally and in your life when you're designing your life.
So you really, how long does this process take with you, Diane? I mean, if someone has a history of being, a clutter freak and getting distracted and having chaos in their life, how long does it take you to redesign them, I guess is what I would ask.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I meet people where they're at, and I look at it as being SpaLife is a journey and meeting them where they are in the path. I mean, there could be people that are in complete chaos and clutter and things are not working for them. And I've created, I have my online academy, From Clutter to Calm. And that is really about really deconstructing each aspect of your life. And we start with a priority of, the physical space is something where people see the most and immediate results. But we also look at, what is your mindset? How are you showing up each day? And really looking at, I actually do a clutter awareness quiz where it has them look at the different aspects of their life so that they can really start with something where they can see some immediate results.
Wow, that's interesting. So how do you help responsible women who become overwhelmed? And I would think that there are many women today who are overwhelmed with a job or a business, with kids. Small kids are one thing. You worry about them because you have to get some kind of child care. Then, of course, when they're in school, then you have to worry about the soccer team and the cheerleading team and all the practices they have and so forth. And then, of course, they go off to college and who knows what happens there. So you've got women who are balancing this teeter-tot, really, because they've got work, they've got family. There's also very often a husband involved, and so he needs attention, and many times that relationship suffers. So how do you help them from being totally out of it and overwhelmed?
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Gale, I really start with, the first thing, especially when you start putting the totality, all that, and life can start feeling really heavy. So we start looking at how can we lighten things up, and really even just starting with something as simple as just taking some deep breaths in. We sometimes forget that taking a deep breath actually brings more oxygen to the brain. It allows you to think more clearly. If we are rushing from one thing to the other, we actually can't be present in living our life. And so what happens is that people start just adding more and more on. And, one of my mentors, Sandra Yancey, says that, no is a complete sentence. We get into this place where it's like this fear of missing out, that we have to be doing all of these things. However, letting go of some things that maybe aren't as important, or asking for some support and having, other people ask. I mean, women, traditionally don't ask for help. They try and juggle it on their own, and then they wonder, why they're suffering. So really looking at letting go of things that aren't, important, that aren't really helping you as much, focusing on the things that only you can do, to really, allow other people to do what's in their genius and have them do those aspects. But immediately what I think I do to help, and I know that helps the women, is to have a brain clarity exercise. Because what I find what happens is that one of two things is that either women have 8 things going on in their head that they keep looping and thinking of over and over again, and it feels like a million, or they actually have hundreds of things going on. But by just getting a blank piece of paper and just writing all the things out, even just 1 or 2 words to actually get it out of your head, just allows you to then be present of, what do I actually need to do? And I think this is a great exercise to do when you're in the middle of overwhelm, just to get it out of your head, because sometimes we think that we're going to forget something. So to actually throw it on a piece of paper and then look at, what is it that we need to do? And I think also what happens is that people get overrun with their to-do list, and it's unrealistic. And I really want people to feel like they're winning every day. So it's actually more satisfying to say, hey, I'm going to complete these 3 things to completion, to close the loop and be done with them, than to set yourself up saying, I'm going to do these 20 things, when you know that you're physically not going to do it, which allows you to, feel these regrets in your day and feel this like, it's not working. When you really focus on the key things that you need to do, then you can feel successful in your day and feel like you can just reduce the overwhelm.
It's so true. I mean, all of us put down these to-do lists, and we really think we're going to get all that done in a day, and it never happens. And so although we feel really good about ticking off some of those things that we have, we also get unimpressed by what's left on the list. And that's why it's so important. I know when I was teaching time management and things like that, I would always stress the A, B's, and C's. So what is an A priority? And then if you have 10 A priorities, you've got to rank them. And no matter what happens, you need to deal with A number 1 or 2 or 3 first before you think about anything else. And yet people love to do the easy things first, because you can just check them off like it's not that difficult. So how exactly do you help people live without regret?
Well, I think one of the main things that I do is, I help people create a life that you love. A lot of times we hear people say that, I have to do this and I have to do that. And I have them look at it from a different perspective, is that really we don't have to do anything. You want to design your life where it's, what are the things that you get to do? If you're having a day filled with a lot of have-tos, those are probably the things that you need to delegate, or to really take a closer look at your life in terms of really focusing on the things that you get to do and have gratitude around those type of things. And I also think that it's important to be proactive, again, back to designing your life. Because what happens is that if we just live by default, a lot of times, the regret comes in when the 3 Ds show up in your life, where there is disease, divorce, or death. And typically when one of those 3 things happen, then people step into making big changes in their life. In order to live a regret-free life, you have to be proactive, and you have to design a life that is really focused around, what are you grateful for? How do you want to create and spend the time that you have, and to design that so that you enjoy each day. So many times, when we have so many things on our plate, we start saying things like, well, as soon as the kids graduate, as soon as I finish this project, as soon as I retire, I'm going to then live my life and do all these things that you do. It is critical to actually start living that life now, to actually put into your life, even if you have to say like, hey, 1 day a week, I've done this for clients too, where I said, okay, Fridays, you're retired. So you do the things that you would normally do on that someday. And I find that people are actually more productive if they actually take another day off, focus their projects on the other days, and start having more balance where they're living the life that they want to have, spending that time with their, significant other or their